What I want to do in this video is help you rediscover your purpose and to build a mission that truly matters. So that could be a project, or that could be a direction that you're pointing your awareness and your attention in. If you've got stuck and you've got overwhelmed by all these different incredible ideas, this is a video which I'm sure will help you. So when you're creative, you can have a whole shower of ideas frequently, daily, every minute. I get that. And these ideas are probably really innovative, they're really exciting, they're really amazing. But the problem is knowing where to point your energy and attention. And so oftentimes these brilliant ideas just flood in and we get overwhelmed. And overwhelm can lead to burnout, it can lead to procrastination, and it can have us stop in our tracks and not do any of them. So your time is precious, as is your energy and your attention. So in this video, I'm going to help you identify your mission that matters. And I'm going to give you 3 ways that you can do that. They're going to be clear, they're going to be actionable, and they're going to be enjoyable to do. And then by the end of it, you'll have a very clear understanding of where potentially you should be pointing your energy and attention so that you can create something meaningful, something that you really enjoy creating, and something that has an impact in the world. If you've got all these incredible ideas and you're innovative, what do we do with them? Well, maybe we sketch them down on paper. Maybe we have lists and post-it notes everywhere. I know that's where I go. And the issue is that if you're working for yourself, an independent creator, it can be very difficult to know how to filter out what's good and what shouldn't be given attention right now. I'm going to take a stab at this. You feel alive and connected and vibrant and energetic when you think about the ideas, when you think about the big ideas coming into your awareness, right? This is the inspiration. But sometimes we can stay in that ideation space. What can happen is that we just think, okay, well, if I actually try and make these things in the world, maybe they won't be as good as I imagine. And so fear can kind of keep us in that ideation space. And we're not sure how to navigate that territory. It's like, how do we know where to begin? How do we know what we should be paying attention to? How do we figure out how to siphon down and how to actually point our attention? If you make money from your creativity, you need to get those ideas in order because you need to action them. Because if you need to make money from what you produce, then it's going to be something which is essential, right? You need to wrap up your ideas in something that you can deploy and sell to other people. So maybe you have tried in the past to ascertain what you should be focusing in on. Maybe you've thrown everything down on post-it notes. Maybe seeing them written down and in front of you is really important, and that's great. Brilliant. It's the first step, but it doesn't give you the why behind anything. And it's possible that you've tried some things. You've stuck your head and attention into a couple of projects and you've started to focus. Maybe you've focused in on a niche around working with people with a certain challenge. But maybe it's just run out of steam and you're like, well, actually, I don't care so much about this anymore. I thought I did, but I don't anymore. And that's really disheartening. I get that. I've been to that place multiple times. I'm excited at the beginning, but then I start to veer off track because your inner critic gets hold of that and says, see, I told you that's what would happen. And that's not what we want for you. Possibly you've got excited when you've seen someone else's work, whether that's art, whether that's photography, whether that's someone else acting on their urge to create something. And you've seen that. Maybe you've been to a gallery and you've got super inspired. Or maybe you've seen another YouTube video where you think, yeah, I could do that. No problem. I'm going to give it a go. And you start to formulate it. And it feels uncomfortable. It feels like you're struggling to fit yourself into someone else's clothes when we try and emulate something that we've been inspired by, but it's not a fit for us. The big issue here is you're not pointing yourself at a mission that truly matters for you. Identifying this first and then seeing what projects come from that is all important. When you get that sequence in the right order, everything starts to make sense. This also gives you the fuel and the motivation to take that project through to completion, and with it comes a real sense of achievement. And it also means that your work is out in the world, whether that's art, photography, creativity, projects, services. It's out in the world. Better that it exists than just a nice idea parked on the shelf, never to be seen again. That'd be such a shame. So here are 3 super effective inquiries. Now, inquiries are reflections or questions to go deep in on. You start to see some answers that come to the surface. Inquiry number 1, and I suggest you get a pad and paper, you reserve some time, you shut the door, you put the dog out, you don't get interrupted basically, and contemplate this question. What's the legacy you want to leave? Generally, there's a large component of being in service in some way here. When you contemplate this, when I've been working with one-to-one clients throughout my coaching career, what's been most rewarding and fulfilling is working with people, and working with people in a way where you provide a service of some kind that actually helps resolve something in their lives. It's absolutely not egotistical to consider this. What's the legacy I want to leave? We all leave a dent in the world in some way. So what is the shape of that dent that you wish to leave? So with this in mind, what's the work that you can bring to the world that will improve others' lives in some way? Whether it brings them joy, whether it brings a resolution to a problem or a challenge that they have. What is that work? How can you bring your skills and natural talents into the world that will make that legacy become a possibility? I often find that getting in touch with this motivates me and points me in the right direction. Write down some ideas and see what comes up for you. So the second inquiry I'm going to give you is, what's more important than looking good? Now this one is particularly great because a lot of our motivations come from a sense of status, and we do things to look good. It's hard to admit sometimes, right? But we do things to look good in amongst our tribe, in amongst our community. And so when we think about what's more important than looking good, we start to sink down into what's true for us. I remember when I first started out as a coach, I was doing all the right things, asking all the right questions, but I was trying too hard. I was trying to look good. And in effect, what was happening is I was problem solving with my clients rather than giving them the time and space for them to be able to figure out their own solutions. And that was compromising the quality of the coaching. So contemplate that. Second inquiry, what's more important than looking good? So you may well have come across this. We have an inner critic that wants us to look good. And so it makes us act in a certain way which we perceive looks good to others. Who am I behind looking good? What do I want to birth into the world when I'm not trying to look good? Maybe you're still looking for approval. And I get that. But actually, that's no way to orientate ourselves. If we're looking for approval, then actually we're going to be doing those things that we perceive other people believe that we should be doing, and it's just not ever going to be a fit. So building on that, what narrative runs you? What do you notice is the narrative that's running you? What's coming up from inside, and what does it say to you? We are so shaped by the need to fit in that we can often lose sight of what our unique talents and expressions are. So just bear that in mind when you're doing this second inquiry. And remember, you are here to create for fulfillment and potentially service, not to look good. Anything you try and leverage to look good and have that be the only motivation will just lead to a place of confusion and overwhelm. So number 3, ask yourself, when does time stop and when am I in a flow state? Now the flow state is when you enter into this space where you're just getting on with things and you're engaged in a practice so deeply, so creatively, and there's so much engagement in what it is you're doing that time just disappears as a concept. It's just not there anymore. And we go into what's called a flow state. So what is it that you do that puts you into that flow state where time disappears? So for me, that's photography, that's coaching. When I get my camera and I go out into the streets and I take pictures of strangers, or if I'm doing some portraits for someone to help them build their personal brand, I go into that flow state. Or if I'm sat in front of DaVinci Resolve and I'm editing a video and creating something evocative and cinematic, I'm in a flow state. So it's really important for me to practice these things and for me to take stock of what is fueling me, what is giving me that inspiration. Because those are signposts, those are indications of where we should be pointing ourselves. These things are life-affirming, not life-diminishing. So when you're doing them, it fuels you. Let's say I've done a personal brand shoot for a client, for instance, and I've gone to the South Bank, maybe in London. I bring back the images and I've got them on my SD card. I just pop that card into my computer, I pop open Lightroom, I start editing, and what I notice is that it's life-affirming. I start to feel full of energy. It refuels me. It's like I've plugged myself into the charger and I'm starting to regain energy. It could be at the end of the day. I'm tired. I've been doing the shoot all day. I've been traveling to London and back. But what I notice is that the minute I start editing those photographs, I start refueling and recharging. That is an indication, my friend, that you are onto something life-affirming, not life-diminishing. So for this step, you might want to create a mind map. I find that's a really great way of doing things. Like, I think laterally and maybe not sequentially. And so I start with the idea at the center, which is, when do I go into flow state? When does time stop? As a circle. And then I draw these prongs out from there. And I try and remember those different circumstances. What is it that I'm doing that sends me into that state? And after you've drawn your mind map, just circle the most important components in red, let's say. And then start to think, what's the first step I can take to bringing more of that into my life? How can I practice more of that? And then actually making those steps happen. Because the more you immerse yourself in doing those things, the more you fuel yourself, the more you recognize that this is the place where I should be. This is a mission that matters. I hope these inquiries and practices have given you some key takeaways that you can go away and do to give you some form of shape around all of the incredible ideas that I know you have. Remember, you can come back to those 3 inquiries and practices at any time. So if you start experimenting with one and you realize that one's not actually giving you very much clarity, no problem. Leave it behind and try the other 2. Dive deep into it again and see what else comes up. None of that work and experience will be wasted. It's all cumulative. So whatever you've experienced isn't going to go to waste. It's just going to inform you and shape and hone you in the right direction a little bit more. Let me know in the comments below which of these inquiries has been your favorite, and more importantly, what surfaced for you. I love to hear what comes up for people when they contemplate these inquiries, so please share below in the comments. Hit that bell so that you'll be notified every time I have a new video that goes out. I plan to make a lot more actionable tools like this so that you can find clarity in your creative expression. You have some incredible ideas that need to be birthed and put out into the world, and I want to help you do that. I want to help you find your why, and I want to help you structure and form those ideas so that you can live the mission that truly matters for you. Until next time, go well, have fun.